Welcome to 5 Minutes VHDL podcast, the podcast where we talk about VHDL and hardware design. In this episode, I want to answer to Farah, a friend of mine that wrote to me an email asking me to talk about dithering. What is dithering? Dithering is a digital technique that is used to reduce the spurious in a DDS. Go back. What is a DDS? DDS means direct digital synthesis, and it is a technique to implement arbitrary waveform generation using digital processing. You can think about a DDS like a table, a ROM, or a memory that is a readout, and the samples stored in this memory are read out on a DAC. Of course, in this memory are stored the sample to be played in the DAC, and the samples are the samples of the waveform we want to generate. In a DDS implementation, we don't have the table, but we have an hardware specific hardware that compute all the samples we need and generate the waveform to be played in the DAC. Of course, when we generate in hardware our waveform, the quantization error due to the limited internal arithmetic introduce the spurious on the output waveform. The same thing occurs when we store our samples in a ROM, but using digital processing is more likely that we introduce quantization error. If you look at a sine waveform implementation, you can see that when we generate a sine wave waveform, the sine wave can be seen as stair in the output waveform. You can see an example on my DDS post. I link the post on the episode notes. These introduce in a spectral analysis of our sine waveform a spurious and harmonic. There is a simple way to mask this stair form, and it is to add random noise on our waveform. Of course, you have to add a small quantity of random noise. You can add the random noise either in the phase of our tone or in the amplitude. The result of adding this noise is that in the spectral analysis, the noise floor of the FFT of the output waveform, the noise floor is higher than an DDS without dither, but the energy contained in the spurious peak are spread into the noise floor. So we don't see the peak in the spectral analysis, but we can see a noise floor higher than the previous one without that masks all the spurious and harmonic. Of course, the total power in the integral power in the bandwidth is always the same, but is distributed in a different way. More on the noise floor than concentrated in the spurious. The dithering, of course, acts on the spectral purity of our tone, introducing a bit of phase noise, because when we introduce some noise in the waveform, the result, the total result, is that we introduce a bit of phase noise in the tone. But in most cases, this phase noise, additive phase noise, is negligible. In the next podcast, we will go deeper in this technique. In the episode description, you can find all my contact, and see you in the next episode. Ciao.